Let's send a song down to Beckley, West Virginia, down to Jeffrey Birchfield, who lives down there, a great collector of old-time gospel music and bluegrass gospel and gadgets and nostalgia stuff, all that good stuff, electronics. He's just a collector of all that good stuff, and we call them precious memories. So, Jeffrey, here's for the song that you want. It's the Gospel Singers doing the Apple Tree Story, a very beautiful recitation. Listen this morning. I hope you're blessed by it. And thanks, Jeff, for the conversation. Yes, we appreciate talking to you.
Something very wonderful happened to me. A minister had just closed a revival in a huge Midwestern city, and he stepped on board a train on his way home. While on the train, he sat down right beside a young boy. A few miles had passed by, and he noticed the young man was troubled, and he had tears streaming down his cheeks. He said, "Son, I can see that you're troubled. And son, there's something bothering you." He said, "I just want you to know that I'm a preacher, and I'll try to help you in any way I can." Well, through the tears, the young boy proceeded to tell this story. He said, "Preacher, it was about 2 years ago, as I recall. I had gotten so mean at home that one day I went so far as to strike my daddy with my fist. Preacher, just a few hours had passed by, and Daddy called me into the house. And he said, 'Son, you've broken your mama's heart right in two.' He said, 'I don't know what it is that we're going to have to do.' He said, 'Son, I'm afraid the only thing that there is left is to just ask you to leave.' Preacher, for 2 years, I've wandered out in this world. I've done everything and I've tried everything. And I guess I've been most everywhere. But thank God, about 3 weeks ago, I was traveling down a little country road, and I just happened to pass by a small country church. I noticed they had services taking place, so I went in and sat down right on the very back row. And that night, the preacher stepped in behind the pulpit, and he opened his black Bible and he began to preach. Why, it wasn't long in that message he began to tell me that Jesus loved me. He said no matter what I had ever done in and with my life, that if I would just get out of my seat and come and pray, he said the Lord would forgive me and take my sins away. Why, preacher, he said that the Lord would take my sins and cast them as far as the east is from the west. Well, I got up out of my seat that night, and down to the altar I went, and I asked Jesus to save my soul. And it wasn't long, his big nail-scarred hand reached way down. He forgave me of the life that I had lived and what I had done. He gave me a new start in life. And now, preacher, the reason that I'm sitting here on this train is because I'm going home. I'm headed back home to see my dear old mom and dad. Preacher, I'm so homesick. Well, the preacher looked at him and said, "Son, you've been gone for 2 years now. how do you know that your mom and dad will forgive you? Son, how do you know they'll take you back? Well, preacher, I thought about that the other day. So I wrote home and told my dad in a letter what Jesus did for me. I said, Daddy, you may not believe it, but the Lord saved my soul. And He sure changed my way of living. I said, Daddy, I'm not the same boy that I used to be. I said, Daddy, I want to come home. You see, preacher, we've lived beside these railroad tracks all my life in a little white house. And standing out behind our house is a great big apple tree. And I knew that Dad wouldn't have a chance to write me back. So I told Daddy the day that I would be passing by the house on this old train. And I said, Dad, the only way that I have of knowing that you and Mom have forgiven me is to just go out back and take the ladder and get up in the top of that big old apple tree and tie a little white rag in the very top. I said in that letter, Daddy, I'll know by that you've forgiven me, that I could come back home. You see, preacher, for the last few miles, all I've done is thought about the hardship, the troubles, the trials that I've brought to my dear old Mom and Dad. And the reason that I'm sitting here with these tears in my eyes is because just up around the next bend there is where I live. And I'm afraid Mom and Dad won't forgive me. Preacher, I came there to look. Would you get up and just be so kind to look for me? I've treated him so bad, and I just hope he'll take me back. Well, the preacher got up out of his seat, and he pulled the handkerchief from his pocket. And as that train rounded that bend, why, he began to dust the window off, and he began to look out across the fields. Why, it wasn't long. He saw that big old apple tree, and he turned around with a great big smile on his face. He said, Son, you don't have anything to worry about. Why, that old apple tree's in full blossom. There's white rags hanging all over that tree from one end to the other. And son, out underneath that tree, I see a gray-haired old Mom and Dad, and they're waving a big white bed sheet. And it looks like they're saying, come on home, son. Come on home. Well, glory. That's just like my God. No matter how mean we've been, no matter what we've done, no matter how low in the pit of sin we've ever gone, I've got a God that can reach to the uttermost. I've got a God that can save the lowest sinner. I've got a God that can save you tonight. I've got a God that can take you from where you're at to where you ought to be. Children, I'm so glad that when I didn't have a thing to offer, no talent, no abilities, no money, just a teenage boy that was away from God, I'm glad the grace of God saved my soul. And I'm glad that every born-again child of God one day will hear the Lord say, after He opens that big Lamb's Book of Life, He's going to look at every redeemed child of God, and He's going to say something that's going to sound like this: welcome home. Welcome to heaven.
And there you have the Gospel Light Singers and the Apple Tree Story. Very, very beautiful recitation. A great message there. And I hope Jeffrey Birchfield down in Beckley, West Virginia enjoys that as I dedicate it to him this morning.